You're listening to the Bleav in Giants podcast with two-time Super Bowl winner Carl Banks and the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa.
Even Giants. Want to go thank our good friends at FanDuel. We got a lot to cover. Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend. You can buy a more authentic mug at the Bleav shop. Carl, you know, you always hear the coaches say 24-hour rule. Well, as of this recording, it's not 24 hours yet. I'm still flipping mad about this whole thing. I'm not. It's less. Well, it's mad, but it's also like the level of frustration that I feel right now. I mean, you know, you watch these games. We always talk about this. You watch these games around the NFL, and the Giants, you know, with their 20-6 loss, like week in and week out. And you're like, man, you see all these other teams are scoring touchdowns. Well, we joined that world yesterday, and it felt good to be a part of that world.
Right. Yeah.
But how the hell did they lose the game?
Bob, it's beyond frustrating for me. And so I want to make sure that I kind of give some context. There are a lot of people, and I'm upset. I'm super frustrated. But I just want to say this before I say another word out of my mouth. Anything I say on this podcast, I will say to a player. Any questions that I have, I will ask to a player, and I will ask to a coach. So I'm not here to pile on, but I'm giving you professional context in what I see. I'm not going to tell you to fire. They should fire the defensive coordinator. That ain't on me. And I never advocate for a coach losing his job. Whatever happened, happens, right? But I will have questions. I will have questions that if you're the 32nd ranked defense with the talent that you have, and yes, folks, they have a lot of talent. And it's where the team invested heavily resources. You need to be better. And I posted something last night as my last words, and it was, you know, your best players don't get to decide when they fucking want to do it right. And you know who decided that that wasn't going to be the case? The offense. James Hudson had 4 straight penalties that just kept setting them back. You know what the offense decided? Enough. You know what they did? They were looking at all the opportunities getting wasted, and they said, to hell with this, let's go get it. So they uncorked. Yeah, the offense wasn't perfect, but you know what they did? You know what that offensive line decided? We can get some things done, and we're going to do everything we can the right way the entire effing game. They didn't decide which plays they wanted to play hard on. They didn't decide which plays they wanted to take a shortcut. They went out there and they said, you know what? We're gonna leave it all out here. We're gonna empty the clip. And they put up 37 points, could have been 50. But for not a couple of not a couple, but 2 red zone opportunities, one after a turnover, and then the other one earlier in the game, they didn't convert. But they said enough. They said, we're not going to decide to do it good sometimes. So guess what they did? The same group
Raised their bar.
The same group that everyone killed last week, right? And I said to you, and this is not some victory lap because they still got to keep doing it. I said, if they stay healthy long enough, they'll find something that they can do well. This week, they pass blocked well for Russell Wilson. They went for a lot of yards. You had 3 receivers, 2 over 100, way over 100. Slayton caught big balls. Tight ends got involved. Theo Johnson redeemed himself. You know why? Because that side of the football decided, hey, we're not going to pick and choose when we have to be good or when we don't. We're going to be good. We're going to try to be consistent across the board. Defensively, I couldn't be more disappointed. If you want to go, the first 2 series of the game was Giant defense. 3 and out, 3 and out. Boy, they look good, right? So before we start piling on to the defensive coordinator, which there's going to be some opportunity there, what went right those 2 series? What went right those 2 series? The one play that Dallas wanted to get on the Giants was that power. They played it to perfection. Played it to perfection. Bogged it up, right? The type of passing, vertical passing up the seam. Hey, linebacker was where he's supposed to be. No hesitation. First 2 series of the game looked like Giants defense. That's the same defense Shane Bowen called, right? Now conditions changed. Then you go every series after that in regulation, you had a defensive penalty. So you play 1 down good, get a penalty. Play 2 downs good, get a penalty. Everything Dallas got in that game was an add-on to give them a chance to do something. If you could just play defense, right? You don't got to shut them out. But if you could just play defense and they got to earn every first down, you got the feeling it wasn't going to happen. But they get a first down, and then you add another 15 yards to it. You get a first down, you add another 10 yards to it. Think about it. Every series in regulation, besides the first 2,
right, and the
penalties.
opening series of the
They
third
were
quarter
aided by
because there was an
penalties.
interception.
Right. So I'm going to say you defensive players, you got to be more accountable for each other, to each other. Now, there's some questionable stuff out there. And everybody talks about the 2nd and 10 that's leading into overtime or that could win the game.
Yeah, 19 seconds. For those that don't remember the circumstance, the Giants are leading by 3. Dallas gets the ball with 19 seconds to go. They throw an incompletion. Clock stop. 14 seconds to go. They snap the ball. And Jake Ferguson basically just runs up the seam, stops at the star, and Prescott just hits him. Uncontested play anywhere. Right. They get 18 yards. They use a timeout. They run it for 3, and then they kick the field goal, and we're going to overtime.
So 2nd and 10. Well, the 1st and 10, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau with a big pressure, almost intercepted by Dexter Lawrence. That could have won the game. By the way,
right,
they had three other opportunities for interceptions. They only came up with 1.
Well, one in the end zone, right? Holland and Flott went through both of their hands.
Correct. That's not coaching. That's playing. But let's get to the thing that I have the biggest issue with schematically. This team does not play zone defense well. Why is that, Carl? Why don't they play zone defense well?
Why don't they play zone defense better, Carl?
the concept is eluding them. I don't understand. It's not just go stand in an area and watch a guy run through it. If you take the 2nd and 10, game on the line, people say, oh, it's a prevent defense. Wouldn't be my choice. But if I'm playing that defense, you can damn sure bet I'm not letting a guy just run through to the sticks. No, actually, he ran past the sticks, turn around and catches the ball.
Unimpeded.
Here's fundamentally what's wrong with that. They're playing a sticks defense, right defense to play. Long yardage situation, they got to have it, and they got to get this first down to get in field goal range. Play sticks defense. You know what sticks defense is? Sticks defense is you line up on the sticks and keep everything in front of the sticks. Not line up behind the sticks, backpedal 5 yards, and then watch somebody run past the sticks, catch the ball, and then you go up and catch it. That is fundamentally what's wrong. Like, are you having the conversation that, hey, end of game situation, we're going to get into this. This is not quite prevent defense. We're doing this because we want to keep the ball in front of us. But here's how we have to play this. You can't let a guy just run through the zone. So the guys that are standing at the sticks don't retreat. That's a cliff. If you fall off the cliff, which they did because they got the first down, just stand there on the cliff. Keep everything in front of you. And they're on their 3rd linebacker, their 3rd wheel linebacker. Musa got hurt, and then they brought in a kid off the street. Do I expect him to know exactly how to play it? I don't know. But who's talking? Who's communicating? Right? So if you want to have a problem with the scheme, which they ain't playing it right, and I don't even think it's necessarily the worst call in the world, but it was the worst executed. And I think that's accountability across the board. But when you've invested the type of money into this side of the football that the Giants have, and it's not incompetence, folks, and these guys are not overrated, and they are worth their money. I'm the last guy to say the guy ain't worth his money. But here's what I want. Give me my money's worth when it counts. Don't decide when it's important to do it right and when it's important to not do it right, or when it's not important and you just freelance. I know for a fact, Javon Holland, Paulson Adebo, they spent a lot of time in that facility after hours, working and preparing. And it showed in a lot of plays. But then when you needed to have it, there were breakdowns. Not necessarily by those 2 kids, but there were breakdowns. Here's what I am imploring those 2 guys, especially Javon Holland. If you know you're down to your 3rd linebacker and he just came off the street, I need communication. You are the quarterback. You need to make sure that you're over-communicating with this kid. Now, you didn't have time to prepare him in the week because he had just got there. But you better be going over every single detail of what he should be looking at, how he should be going there. Not a criticism, because this ain't about you, Holland. This is about you guys being a better defense. This is what you need to do in terms of your role, your leadership role in this defense. New guys, they don't get the reps, but at any point, they could be thrown in the game, which has happened. The guys who are in there, especially your quarterback, which is your safety in these situations, you got to communicate. You got to make sure this kid knows where he's got to do. It ain't a lot to put on his plate other than, hey, carry the tight end up the seam. We got it from here. Just carry this guy up the seam. Just don't drop back into space and just look at cars just driving by. Just cars zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay, as soon as they hit their brakes, we'll go tackle them. That's not how zone defense works. And here's the thing about playing a zone defense in today's NFL. It's so much easier because you don't even see, if a team is not very good at it, you don't see the route combinations. You don't see the zone beaters, right? You see it on the outside. On the inside, they just say run up the seam. It's so easy. It's so easy. Just go jam the guy. I don't know if it's coaching, if it's players, but I know they're all in it together. And I don't like it for the reasons that you guys don't necessarily think. I don't like it because it's not executed. I don't think it's a flawed call for that situation if it's played right. If it's played right, hey, they're going to eat up some clock and you're going to make a tackle before he gets to where he needs to go. Or you're going to give your defensive backs a chance to make a play because your line is going to have some pressure on him. But he was just pitch and catch. The biggest threat to your zone when you're playing some form of two is the seam route. You got a linebacker in the middle of that zone who had no work. No work. He's just dropping back. Well, that's number one, just again, open to the number 3 receiver. And young kid, hey, look, carry this guy for us. Be that as it may. But the guys that were standing on the sticks, the ball was snapped and you backed up 5 yards. For what? You just gave up the ground. You just gave up the first down by literally by backing up 5 yards. Stand there. Defend the sticks, not beyond the sticks. Defend the sticks. And if you want, carry the tight end up the seam. That was your primary receiver. Communicate that. This is not a failure on the player on the field, meaning Javon Holland. This is something I'm imploring him to be better at. When you have guys who are not all on the same page, one guy has to be that leader out. He's got to be that quarterback. You cannot like the call, which I'm bringing pressure, some form of pressure. Or if I'm playing that call, I'm going cover 2 dog 2 or 2 dog tight end, which means at the snap, my middle linebacker is going to basically jam and trail, right? Because that's your biggest threat. Everybody else is in zone. You're going to jam him and you're just going to you're going to escort him to your safeties. That changes the entire look for the quarterback. Carl, how come they don't know? Are they not being coaches? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But I'm going to tell you, whatever they're being coached, they're collectively are not executing when it counts. When it counts. You got a situation, and folks, I ain't picking on defense, but this is where your talent is. And I'm just going to call it the way I see it. You've got situations where they got to have it, must have run, or must have play. They run a draw. Defensive end, who's having a pretty good game, decides to go inside, ball goes outside. You can look at him after the play and he knows he screwed that up. It's okay to screw up, but not when we need you to be your best, right? Or the same, different player, but the same power play that y'all blew up, they run it again, and this time you decide not to go down there and kick the ball over. Big gainer. I think it might even been a rushing touchdown. You don't get to decide when you want to do it right. The skill set, the ability of the players on this defense, y'all got to do it right all the time, and especially when you're tired. When you're tired is not the time to take the shortcut. When you're fresh and you can beat a guy inside and still get up the field, that's when you do it. When you're fatigued and it's late in the game, it's hard for them to block you when you do it right. You make it easy for them when, number one, you're tired, you take a shortcut, they seal you in, the ball's out, right?
Right.
You say, okay, I'm tired. I just got to play the technique here. Just set the edge. He can't block you anyway. The only way he can block you is you block yourself, and you block yourself, right? These are the things. For whatever you think of this defense, these coaches, players have culpability too. You're the 32nd ranked defense, so that goes on coaching too. Your ability or inability to play penalty-free series, that's everybody. That's that discipline you talk about in meeting rooms. That's coaches, assistant coaches, and that's your players, right? Kayvon Thibodeau said, we got to grow up. Well, yeah. I don't know if it was Ian O'Connor or Dan Dugan said it's getting late early. Well, it's late. It's officially late for your defense. So less talking, more execution. But understand what you're doing. Like, studying to be studying is great, right? Understand what the defenses that they're asking you to execute call for. If you don't think that it's what you think you should be playing, go have a conversation with the coach. Have them explain it to you. Maybe there is a better way, right? I can tell you right now, love him to death, but Bobby Okereke is struggling in pass coverage. He's where he's supposed to be, but he's a hair late. So do you say, Bobby, hey, get a head start, cheat, right? Or do you look at some situations, you say, Dane Belton, you're going to be part of our big nickel. Tyler Nubin, you're going to step down at linebacker. Belton, you're going to go in the back, right? Just so that you can get the must-have coverage in situations. If you're going to go, which I don't know if they even have it in their playbook, but that zone that they got the 2nd and 10 on, if you're going to play 2-dog number 2, right? Or you're going to play zone, you got a 3rd-team linebacker off the streets in the game. If I am,
but Carl,
looking at,
on that play though, I'm looking at the coach's tape right now on that play. Okay, and that's okay. That's Bobby. That's Okereke on that play. I don't understand like what. It just I don't understand it, because they're in that zone that you're talking
they're
about.
They're not coaching it to carry that guy up the seam, clearly, because
No,
they had some defenses where, like last week when Deontay Banks, it was a Debo squeezing Debo Samuel in, and you needed the linebacker to get back to the middle of the field. They did that very well. One of them, Dak made a great throw on, but Bobby was in the throwing lane, and Banks was, squeezing him in. He just made a hell of a throw, but Bobby's not moving well in pass coverage. So there are 2 things you can do. If he's the only guy you trust out there, then you have the conversation with Bobby, and he's smart enough to receive it. Hey, when we get in these obvious passing situations, cheat a little bit, get to where you got to go. Widen your stance. We know you can come up and tackle somebody, but we need you in this coverage area. So cheat a little bit, right? But again, if I'm running that defense, I'm still saying, what's my best person? I need my best athletic personnel out there. I'm putting Nubin up at linebacker, nickel linebacker, and I'm putting Belton in the back. Nubin can tackle. And I say, Bobby, you're out on this one. And now I got my best athletes in there, but you still got to coach it. You still got to say, hey, carry number 3 up the seam. He's the biggest threat. You can't let him in the middle of the field. But you're also saying to your defense, this is sticks defense. Ball snap, don't leave beyond the sticks. Stand right here. Don't back up 5 yards. because that's the worst thing. Like if you, let's just say the tight end runs up the seam, which he did. If you're standing at the sticks, you still got a chance to break it up. But you're 5 yards back, he gets to the sticks, beyond the sticks, catch it, and then everybody breaks up on him. That's not how you do that. So it's collective. I have a good enough relationship with players and coaches where I can ask questions or I can give feedback. And there's nothing I'm saying here that I'm not going to say or ask to these guys, right? That's why I knew when the power play comes and it gets blown up the 3-4 times that they ran it, and then the 5th time that they run it, guy decides he doesn't want to do his job. That's not necessarily coaching, folks. So they're all in it. They're all in it. You're ranked 32nd. Tell me.
Yeah, Carl, I mean, I'm looking at this play from the back of the end zone, and the ball is on the left hash. Belton and Okereke are on the left hash. Ferguson is lined up on the right hash. And then as the play goes, Belton moves a little bit more toward the middle. He immediately drops. Okereke is looking at the back, and nobody touches Ferguson. So Bobby is outside the left hash. Ferguson's running up the right hash, and Belton is retreating to the Giant 45-yard line. And Ferguson just stops right there and catches the ball. Okereke can't get over there. I don't understand how they, with that formation, how somebody was not on that hash and just allowed Ferguson to run literally untouched to his spot, never wavering.
So I can just tell you now, and I'm not even looking at it. I've seen it enough. And I, because Dan Schneider, I love Dan. He posted the video, and he gave some feedback on some things he saw. But again, I'm looking at it, and I can tell you within 2 steps of the play how it got to where it is. They're in it together, Bob. That has to be corrected. But also the things that I've seen that allow the opponent to get in the game. You didn't play stingy defense because you were undisciplined, right? If you could go those 3 and outs in the first series, and then let's just say you're making these guys earn. If it's a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6 and they get 10, it's great. Okay. You line up because they know they got more hell coming. But they get a 3rd and 10, and then you add another 15 yards to it. Now you just flip the field. Now your back's up against the wall. That's not how you play defense. And the thing that bothered me most, because we're talking about that one play, but the thing that bothered me most is the fact that every series outside of the first 2 series to start the game and once in the 3rd quarter, you had penalties as a defense. You can't decide when to do it right. You got to be doing it right at the time. And when you are tired and a team's got to make a play, that's when you say to yourself, I got to play the technique. I got to play the technique. Playing the technique, they're not going to block you. Playing the technique puts you in position to make the play. Taking a chance, you self-block, and they get the play they need, and then you're on one knee shaking your head like, well, that's my fault in a close game. Gets you beat. It gets you beat. So
Right.
I know that this team is talented. If you look at certain play, and look, again, folks, I'm not here to jump on Shane Bowen. I can ask questions, and there are some things I would change. But it's the same Shane Bowen that was coaching those 3 and outs. He was calling that same game, right? It was the same Shane Bowen who was calling the plays that guys had hands on interceptions. Drew Phillips gets an interception. It's the same guy.
Right.
And I'm not telling you that it ain't him. I'm telling you it's all of them. Because if you take, I can give you go through this film. There were probably 5 turning point plays that the defense needed to execute. That 2nd and 10 being one of them. You're going to see a big run where the defensive end decides to go inside, quarterback hands it off on a draw, goes right around the corner. You're going to see the power play that they had defended so well in the game. You see a defensive end give a half-hearted effort, gets blocked, ball goes inside. All you got to do is kick it out like you had been doing the entire game, like they had coached them to do. Because that was a play. We talked about this last week. We talked about this on the coach's show. I said they got to get all the way down there to kick it because that lead guy is the one who's blocking.
Right.
They did it all game. In that one play, they decided not to do it. You don't get to decide when to do it right. You got to do it right. Even when you're tired, it's all the more reason that
that turns into a 30-yard touchdown.
Do the technique. Right.
It shifted
and it's
the
like,
momentum.
And then you sit there and you're like, my bad. And you know you should have done it. But this is as much collective as it is the guy who's calling the defense. Now, the buck stops with the defensive coordinator. So however it looks, if it looks undisciplined, if it looks chaotic, if it looks unorganized, it always points back to the guy who's coordinating your defense. Right?
Right, but that's the age-old adage of, with the game on the line, you gotta be more sound. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter what happened in other parts of the game. There was 19 seconds to go in the game. And if you line up properly and you don't if you line up properly and you force Ferguson to cut his route short at 10 yards and you tackle him, Dallas is using a timeout. And, now they're looking at a 70-yard field goal to tie the game. Correct. Or now they got to run another play. Like I just don't understand. In that moment, Carl, during the broadcast, going back to the first half, anytime Dallas got to the 45-yard line, I would say on the air, they only need 7 yards to get in field goal range because of Brandon Aubrey's leg. We talked about this in the first quarter. We talked about it in the second quarter on the air. I don't understand in that situation the awareness factor being missing of, I can't let this guy run the middle. If you just played the sticks and forced him to hook it right there, they're not in field goal range yet. But that extra 8 yards now creates a run for 3. They use their second timeout, and now this guy's going to come in and break your heart. That part I just can't comprehend.
Well, again, it always it starts and stops with the head of your defense, which is your coordinator. But I am not going to,
Carl,
whatever the issues are, Bob. No, I get it. Whatever the issues are, they are all in it together. They got to solve it as players as well as coaches. They're just too talented.
I like to use your line, user error. Like, I don't care what defense was called. There's no defense that's called that says, let a guy run unimpeded for 18 yards, turn around and stop, and we're going to give that up. There's no defense that calls for that. Well, so this is user error.
But then there is also, right, it could be, but then there's also, you're emphasizing it, but now that you got new players in there, or you got veteran players, somebody remind each other, talk to each other in critical situations. That's not, the water's under the dam, right? Horses out of the barn. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But just know that in crunch time, everybody talks. If everybody's talking, you're not having this type of play. Simple as that. Players on the field are talking. Coaches to players are talking. You've got to over-communicate when there's a game to be won, and you're 14 seconds away from it. And what was it? 12 yards, 15 yards he got on that play? 12 yards he got
18.
on that pass?
He got 18.
18 yards, and then another 3.
Then a 3 on the run, timeout,
You got
64-yarder.
So
If
it's
you hold
21
that
yards
pass
in
play,
two
if
plays.
you hold that pass play to 10 yards, you got a good. Your
Correct.
probabilities are pretty good of winning, because now they probably
Correct.
have to throw it on the next play.
Correct. So I'm imploring you players to not be robots. Use football common sense. If it's 2nd and 10 and you're defending the sticks, defend those, right? Figure out how to defend those sticks. Coaches, talk to your players, right? Teach this. They're in it. They're too effing talented to sit here and just watch a game go away when you got an offense that basically emptied the clip. They literally, the game should have been over and Dallas winning, and Russ comes out and says, not so
and
fast. Let's go win this thing.
And on the interception in overtime, I said on the radio as it was happening, he just heaved it. I don't know if he just heaved it. Again, after the game in the locker room, I think it was Jordan Renan asked about that, and evidently there was some kind of miscommunication, which, what the route should have been, whatever, and Russell thought one thing, didn't happen. Malik ran like that, sail to the outside. I don't know. I don't know what the true answer is. We'll probably never find out.
Communication in key situations is important. Everybody's got to be on the same page. Offense and defense. Game-winning situations, game-closing situations, comeback situations, everybody has to be on the same page. Because if you miss wrong, then somebody's got a chance to break that pass up, right? They've got to be better. Offensively, I think they made great strides. And I don't want to hear because Dallas had a player out. It is what it is, folks.
Well, the Giants didn't have the starting left tackle.
Last week,
I don't want to hear about who's out.
Right. So if you're going to have a problem with who they are playing when they play them, then don't complain when they couldn't score a touchdown in the first game. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They put up a ton of points. That's what we saw in preseason. That was not the mirage that people were saying, oh, yeah, I told you. This is what we saw, and this is what they're capable of. This defense is underachieving, and I think it's on every single one of them. And they gotta figure it out. But when you can show me, go ahead.
No, it's like you said on last week's show. Offensive guys are better athletes than defensive guys. So you get and we saw that manifest itself with Malik, and we saw it manifest itself with Wan'Dale Robinson and the 4th down touchdown pass, all that stuff. And the same holds true the other way. You throw an interception in overtime. Dallas is at the 30-yard line. You got to anticipate they're going to take a shot, right? They're not going to just run the ball. They're trying to win the game because now there's only 2 minutes to go in overtime. And it's what you talked about last week. The athletes on offense are better. And, immediately Dallas goes to that deep over route, and Pickens gets a free release off the line. And as much as we like Paulson and Debo and anybody else, you give that guy a free release off the line and the pressure doesn't get there, you lose. And Pickens got a free release off the line. I just watched it. He runs the over, not pressure. Dak hits them. One play, they're at the Giant 43-yard line. Game is over. Now they're in field goal range.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, it's all those little things that add up. But the ill-fated last 19 seconds is the thing that we're going to talk about, or fans will talk about.
Well, yeah, we're
long.
going to talk about it, and justifiably, because it is perplexing. Just so many things that went wrong there, just from a fundamental standpoint. But for me, it's bigger than that now, because you got too much talent on defense to be this discombobulated. And when you can do it right, it looks really good. We've seen it. So when they execute the defense, it looks good. Quarterback's under duress. He's scrambling for his life, or, their favorite run getting blown up because you did it right. Looks great. But then you commit a penalty and the drive stays alive.
All right.
Okay, now it's crunch time. You can't even close out with your best players because they're taking shortcuts or compromising their technique. When the simplest thing to do when you're tired, just play the technique. You can't play hero ball. Hero ball comes when they run it right at you and you played it right. Because then they have nowhere to go because they're seeing it the way they've seen it all game. But when you decide you want to take, a shortcut in and they block you and the ball goes around the corner, you made that guy's job so easy. He's on film in the film room today, and they're talking about what a killer block it is. And you're on one knee saying, my bad, I shouldn't have done that. You can't not have that I shouldn't have done that. When you know better as a talented player, you got to do better. So they're in it together. They are in it, and it's late early, but it's still early. So y'all got to arrive with a complete set of discipline and execution. Because I'm not here to believe that you're 32nd in the NFL. This is not a trash roster defensively. You're seeing teams that have less talent do a better job of executing the things that they're asked to do than what we're seeing these last two games. It's late, but it's early. So it's late early, but it's still early. You want to be don't be tardy for the party.
Yeah, and don't be Kansas City's get-right game because they got their own issues. This is not the Chiefs from 3 years ago coming in. They got their own issues. We'll do the whole preview later in the week. You got anything else here?
Listen. Well, I'm just Bob. It's there's some heated rhetoric, and clearly this defensive coordinator is under siege, and I'm not here to bail anybody out. But I'm here to tell you, all of you fans, that the players are not exempt from this. Now, you can question how they're being coached, but I can tell you how they're being played, and I can tell you if I've seen it 4 times in a game done right and then it's done wrong at the wrong time, that's user error. That ain't coaching. Again, you can question schematically, but you can also cut on the tape and see where the same calls were executed well. They're all in it together. They are all in it together. And the amount of money that was invested and resources invested on that side of the football, I expect a higher level of execution consistently. They're too good to be this inconsistent. And yes, you got to emphasize coaching plays a part in that. Coaching plays a part in that. Leadership plays a part in that. Again, I'm not blaming Javon Holland or Paulson Adebo for anything that's happening outside of their responsibilities. But what I will say, as you're putting in that extra work, and I know they do. I know they're in there till 8 o'clock at night at times. Communication. This is OG, the young player. Communication. Safeties have to communicate. Don't assume that everybody's on the same page. You got to be that nagging ass teammate. Safeties, when you got new players come to game, making sure that kid knows what he's doing. That's all I got. Like, you're better than what you're showing. You're under siege. I'm not here to absolve anybody from anything because I think they all have some stake in it. It's late, but it's early. So if you Bleav you're a better than 32nd ranked, which I Bleav you are, then you're going to have to show it. And you can't creep up on it. Now, you can't get better. This game, we did a little something better. Next game, we're going to do a little something better. No, you got to fix it all. You got to fix it all because when it's working, it looked dominant against Dallas. And that can be against anybody. But when it's not, it looks like, oh, an undisciplined play here, another undisciplined play. The offense decided that they're not going to just arbitrarily do it right. They got more right than they got wrong because they decided after they Hudson, we got something that we can get going, and they went and got it. Defensively, for all the good things that they put a lot on film. But then all it takes is one play for an offense. If they can keep it close, you got to fall asleep once. And then Dallas is back in the game. Kansas City will do the same thing to you. But if you keep pressure on them with the type of talent you have, you keep pressure on them, they crack. But if you give them a penalty after a hard-earned 10 yards and you tack 15 onto it, you're letting them off the hook. But if they got to fight like hell to get that first down, they know they got to line up and do it again and again. And it's hard to do when your defense has it going. It is hard to do. But when you continue to add, if you give 25 yards on a 10-yard play, they know we just dodged a bullet. Now we're in range to do some other things.
It's a quarter of the field. 10-yard play plus a 15-yard penalty is 25% of the entire field. Like, you can't do that. All right, how do we like to end it?
So tell a friend to tell a friend. Bleav in Giants.
Thank you, FanDuel.